Together with American songwriter, we had the chance to talk to Colin of Grayscale.
Adam was able to talk to Grayscale's vocalist, Colin Walsh. Grayscale just released a new EP, live from the Barbershop studios, which features 3 reimagined versions of songs from the band's sophomore album, Nella Vita.
Make sure to check out our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Bringing It Backwards and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bringing Back Pod.
We'd appreciate your support if you follow and subscribe to our podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're Bringing It Backwards with Colin of Grayscale. Again, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. So stoked. Super stoked to do it, honestly.
Cool. Yeah, I love your band. That's like my genre, dude. Right up my alley. It was the Fearless Records, Hopeless Bands. I love the whole pop punk and you know
man.
that whole scene. So super stoked to talk to you.
Yeah, hell yeah, man, definitely.
Cool. So are you from the band's from Philadelphia? Are you from Philly originally?
I am. Yeah, we all are. Minus our bassist Nick is from Detroit. Our drummer Nick was born in Vegas, but he's pretty much grown up here most of his life. So I would say we're all of us from Philly, born and raised pretty much, with the exception of our bassist Nick.
Right on, right on. So tell me about growing up in Philadelphia.
Oh man, it's a city that we all love a lot. It's a city full of history, culture, and art. I think a lot of the time, you know, whenever we talk about it, my answer is like kind of the same thing. I always start with like, yeah, it's got like a lot of history. It's got a lot of culture. It's a lot of art. You know, it's just a like a unique city, man. Like I've been obviously very fortunate to be able to travel a lot around the country, around the world. And it's just every time, just even objectively speaking, like coming back to here, I'm like, damn, dude, like we got, you know, it's just one of those cities that has a lot of character to it. Boston, New York, same thing. Like a lot of those East Coast cities, but there's a spirit, you know, we're all in it together. You know, the weather is only good for 4 or 5 months out of the year, maybe less. I'd say like 3, if that, of really good weather. So, you know, we're crazy sports fans. We love our food. It's a really, really cool city, man.
Yeah, you've got some amazing talent out of Philly also, as far as music goes. You know, you got the Roots and G Love, and I think Diplo's from there. I mean, absolutely. And I mean, if you count like South Jersey, you know, right over the bridge, like this general, you know, Philly, South Jersey area is pretty loaded. Same thing with, you know, athletes as well and actors. It's pretty crazy, man. But yeah. Yeah, totally. So did you grow up like in the city in Philly?
So I'm like right south, like probably like 20 minutes south of the city, around like the Glen Mills area is kind of more where, like 25 minutes south in the Glen Mills area is kind of more where I grew up. But I lived downtown for like a good 6-7 years before, like right before, during, and after college. I've pretty much lived like in like downtown Philly or around like, you know, like around the city center for a while now.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah,
how did you get into music originally?
Good question. I started playing drums when I was 8 or 9. I started playing drums in, I guess that'll be like 4th or 5th grade.
Wow. So drums your first instrument.
Yeah. I took drum lessons for like 10, 11 years. Drums were my main thing. Started playing bass and a little bit of guitar after that. And then I eventually moved over to singing, and that's what I do in Grayscale now, obviously. So yeah, music's been a huge part of my life. Like, I played sports a lot as a kid. But I've always just had a love for it, man. And like my dad and my parents had me when they were pretty young. And so my dad, you know, we would listen to music all the time. We liked the same music. He'd always show me like 90s rock growing up, and I always loved it. I always listened to it in the car, and yeah, man.
That's
awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Did your dad play an instrument at all or no?
He did not. No, he was not a musician, but he just like
lover of music.
Just a lover of music. Like just knows a lot about it. Just knows a lot about like the history and different artists and genres, and just like has a good ear for music. And we just would rip music in the car a lot together when we you know, when I was a kid.
Yeah. Awesome. You said drums was your first instrument. Did you, were you like in the drum line in school, or did you play in the school band or start?
I did.
Oh,
I played,
okay.
Yep. I played, I guess at that point it would have been like percussion in 4th and 5th grade. And then I got my first drum set around then. And then through middle school, I played in jazz band and like the concert band. And then into high school, I kind of stopped doing it like affiliated with school. When I got to high school and I started, like, that's kind of when I met these guys, all of them, when we were like, I want to say 13, 14 years old, like 8th grade. And since then, yeah, so we didn't go to the same middle, like we live in the same area, but we all went to like different high schools.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just like knew people through people, like, you know, just like local shows as kids and just meeting people. I don't even, it's kind of crazy. Like I kind of forget sometimes that I haven't known these guys like my entire life, but I mean, I guess like I have really, but like,
right. I was gonna say that's pretty close if you met him like in middle school.
Right.
Days.
Yeah. So I guess I mean, more so, I mean, like I don't remember a time when I didn't know them. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so we met when we were like 13, 14 years old, and we just started playing music and just started. I think Dallas is a little bit younger than me. Nick's a year older, so Dallas might have been just turned 13. So we just played music together, just kind of like fucked around in like the basement and played music and did our thing. And then we'd go to shows, and it just kind of eventually we play together, and that kind of became like, you know, just like middle school, high school bands with like random people that we knew. And then that eventually became Grayscale. And then we like did our thing for a while. And then like eventually college came around. And by the time like we had like Nick went before us because he's older. So like Nick went first. And then after I went to college, and some of the guys like stayed home or like went to school locally. And then it wasn't until like 2015, 2016, we like really started trying to be in a band, like actively. It's always crazy because we say like we've like 2011, we say it was like the start of Grayscale, but really that was just like us playing in our basement. And, you know, we'd like open shows in basements in Philly and stuff, which is like friends' houses. But it wasn't really like, we weren't an active like touring band, like really until like right before Dormant came out in like 2017, 2016-ish, that timeline. So yeah, man, that's kind of the history of it.
So is Grayscale was kind of like your guys' first like high school band? It sounds like, right?
It was like all of our, it was like we started with like people we didn't know in our high schools, like or like 8th grade, 9th grade, like we were playing with kids we didn't really like in our high school, like, you know, bands of people that went to the schools we went to. And then it was like early on in college, I would say like Grayscale was like our second high school band, if that makes sense.
No,
like
totally.
Yeah.
So like you guys were all kind of playing, you know, together, but maybe in other bands or with other people. And then Grayscale kind of started once you went to college.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's like pretty much, you know, and it, like we definitely did it and loved doing it. And we do it all the time, but it was never something we like, I guess that flipped in switch of like, we want to do this like our whole life until like towards the end of high school, early college, which is kind of crazy, but it's just kind of the way it went, man.
Do you remember like, did you go to school for music, to college for music?
No, I studied finance in college, and Andrew studied graphic design. Bassist Nick studied communications. Dallas didn't go to school, but Dallas is like a fucking musical genius and just like did his thing and worked in like music stores and worked in production companies at home. And then Nick Vino, our drummer, went to Belmont and studied music. Like he studied, it's like a business degree with an emphasis in music business. I don't know what the actual like degree is. I think it's just a music business general degree. But
I've heard a couple people with that degree.
Dope. Yeah,
kind of a cool one. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, for sure.
Wow. So it sounds like you guys have like everything covered. I mean, finances, you've got the guy that knows the industry a little bit, the super musical guy, the guy that can kind of communicate with everybody. You've got like kind of a nice, a collected, you know, group of people together.
Yeah,
you know
man,
what I mean?
It's been our own little ecosystem for sure. But
there you go.
Yeah, we definitely like, it's weird because it just feels like a blur. It's like we were all boys playing music together, and like when we weren't, we were like just hanging out, like even not playing music, just like through high school. Like I would stay at Nick's house like, almost every day. Like we were just boys. We've been friends since we were like 13 years old, in and out of like messing around playing music. But then like it's just that whole period of my life just feels like a blur until it became like yo, let's really like do this. And then it was like, oh, hey, we got like this record deal with Fearless Records. Like, let's do this for real. Well, right before Fearless, we were on this indie label called Anchor 84 Records, which was, we put our first EP out on. So that was like just before Fearless, but it wasn't until like right around that time when we were like, okay, let's really do this. But yeah.
Was there like a moment that, like you said you had a label, indie label that put out your first EP. Was that the Change EP, or was that the one that was prior to? Because I'm looking, it looks like you guys released something called Leaving in 2013.
Yeah, that was just something we did like ourselves. Like I wouldn't call that like anything really. Like,
okay.
It was just like, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't really. Yeah, I was like the first real thing to us was like the Change EP and What We're Missing, which were the first. Like Change EP it was 4 songs, or it was 3 songs plus a cover that were on that next eventual What We're Missing EP. That's like, it's like a longer EP. It's like 8 or 9 songs. But that was the first time we like really started to kick it up and like apply ourselves and really like go for it, you know, really start playing music for real. So that was kind of like, yeah, like I said, man, it's weird. It's like, it was just we were like friends since we were 13 years old. We'd hang out like all the time, every day, play music a bunch. And we like, you know, we made that like, we would make music and record demos and put out Leaving or whatever. And then like, yeah, we just somehow it just became like our life. And I don't really remember when it happened, but it did.
Yeah, I was going to ask, when the Change happened, like how did you guys get signed to that label that ended up putting out Change and What We're Missing?
So we just recorded like, we recorded that What We're Missing EP. I can't, dude. I'm so bad with timelines. Like I already feel like I like kind of fucked it up explaining it, but like
it's
like,
all right, dude.
It's like I need someone to help me. But no, it was we recorded it. We recorded it ourselves. Like we paid for it, and then I think we probably just like shopped it to like showed some friends and like shopped it to like smaller indie labels in Anchor 84. Cody Jones, who's like still our guy, like fucking love Cody. He's a great guy who runs Anchor 84. It's like a one-man operation. He was like the first dude that was like, hey, like, you know, there's something special about this band. I really love like your sound. I want to sign you guys. So like we put out What We're Missing. I mean, before that was the Change EP, which was 3 songs from what was going to be What We're Missing, plus like a Bare Naked Ladies cover. And then we had another option with Anchor 84 after that, but we started recording some demos and Fearless Records came and bought us out from our deal with Anchor 84. And I think that was kind of when it became like, I was in school and I remember like we were just cruising, like making music and doing our thing and just having fun. It was like, yeah, like, you know, we're really up, like trying, you know, we really want to do this now, but it's just like kind of waiting for something to happen. And then we got a booking agent, a manager, and Fearless Records all happened the same week. Like it literally all just like domino effect, like 1, 2, 3, boom. And then I remember being like, that was kind of like the oh shit moment where I was like, I remember walking back to my car after class. This was like my sophomore, junior year in college, and being like, oh man, I think it must have been my junior year. And I'm walking back and being like, shit. And then I remember calling my dad and be like, hey, we have to have dinner. I have to drop out of school. And so we had to have that conversation. And if, you know, it was crazy, man. It was like a crazy time. It feels like not long ago, but like a million years ago at the same time. It's really hard. It's so weird when we talk, like, I feel like so many interviews or podcasts, like, you know, there's the general, like, well, how did it start? And I talk a little like, oh, we met kind of in high school, and I kind of give like the synopsis. But when we really go through, like, kind of try to give the timeline, like you can tell, like I haven't rehearsed it because I'm kind of struggling to even remember it because it just feels like a blur. It's just like from like when I was 13 years old to like, you know, 18, 19 years old. It was just like playing in the basement, playing some shows in basements at, you know, in the city or whatever with our friends. And then just like the Anchor 84 thing happened. And very quickly the Fearless thing, like almost immediately after happened. And then, you know, we were like, I was like 19 or 20 or however old I was. And then it was time to go. So yeah, It was crazy.
Do you know how Fearless heard of you guys or got a hold of your record?
I don't, honestly. I really, well, at that point, I think that booking agent, like we had been talking to him. His name's Jason Prawn. He's still our agent now. He's a very close friend of ours. I think he was like, hit us up, early in the week, whatever this week was, like early, and was like, what's up? And like, we sent him some demos, and he was like, yeah, like I definitely want to start booking you guys. And like, he passed them to our manager, Avanj, who was like, I've never heard of this band. This is great. And then she passed them. She gave us a call, and we were like, oh, like, she's like, I want you guys to sign. Like, I want to be your manager. Sign to us. And we're like, sounds good. And then she passed it to Fearless, whatever these demos were that we were working on. So it was just like, whisper down the lane type of thing. And like I said, that was like when I was like, what did I say? 20, maybe 21. Mm-hmm. Again, my timeline is horrendous, but something in that time frame. Yeah.
Jeez, that's crazy. So were you guys just playing local shows at that point? Had you tried to tour, like, or this wasn't even like, it was just like a fun thing, but it wasn't really on the radar to be a career until Fearless came through?
Correct. Exactly. So like we would do like in like that What We're Missing era, we would open some like we'd be like the local band on like a handful of shows in Philly at like the Barber, like kind of smaller venues. And then like the occasional, like I know we played it, like we opened the TLA once, which is like it's like a 1,200 cap venue. We were like the opener, like the playing outdoors local band opener. Like that was like the biggest it got at that point. But that was all previous to any booking or managing or label. It was just us kind of like paying for the music ourselves. Anchor 84 then like being awesome and pressing it and putting it out, and then us just like hustling and hitting up like promoters and be like, hey, can we open this package, and a lot of them being like saying no. And then eventually this dude Joe Faree, who booked for Live Nation for the longest time in Philly, like really like kind of discovered our band and liked our band, and like had us open like quite a few of those local shows at local venues and stuff. And but anything before that, anything even during that, really during that time and before that, yeah, we'd just be playing like basement shows in this like in Philly with like at friends apartments and shit.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, so tell me, like, you signed to Fearless Records, you have to have the conversation with your parents. And right. Well, how did that go when you said, hey, I'm going to drop out? Were they cool with it?
It was just with my dad at the time. And it was like, I don't know. I mean, every parent, it's like, everybody's different, but like, I don't know. I'm very fortunate. Like my dad and I are very close, and it's just like, it's obviously a gamble, but he understood it. And I'm like, dude, like there's just something like I have to do. It's just something like I guess just because it's like in the back of my mind, maybe it's different for people where, like that's the only, like, I guess I had a different idea of like how my life was going to go. I always loved making music, and like I thought we were pretty good at it, but like I wanted it to be something like we did full time, like that's dope, but like for me, like it just never was kind of presented as an option as like a career for whatever reason. Like I don't know why. It wasn't like if the opportunity presented itself, like it wouldn't be allowed. Like my dad like gets the way the world, like he's dope, like he gets me and what I want to do. It's just like, I don't know, I guess you just get groomed for so long. Like you go to high school, you go to college, you get a job, and I guess I just like was just in that mindset. It took like the universe to speak enough times to be like, dude, fucking, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I just think that's just how it went, dude. And it's different for everybody, but like that's just very much how it went. And yeah, and now we're here, and I'm super lucky. I'm happier than I've ever been in my entire life. I toured the world with my best friends since I've been 13 years old. Like the kids I've known since I was 13, they've been my best friends. We tour the world and, play shows and write music all day. And it's great. And I fucking love it. It's just, yeah, I didn't necessarily see it coming back then, but I definitely am doing what I'm supposed to be doing in life. And I think that's what's important.
Definitely. When you signed to Fearless, what happened next? What was the first thing they did for you? Did you did you have a song that they wanted, or did they put you on tour? Did they pick up one of your other what'd they do for you next?
I think it was just all the bullshit lawyer nonsense, and then I think it was like, we want to get you out, like recording an album immediately. That was like the first thing. So like at this time, I don't remember the dates, and I don't know, I don't have a computer in front of me, but I think that What We're Missing EP came out in like 2015. I don't even know. I think. Are you in front of a computer? I'm sorry.
I was going to tell you, it shows 2016 on Spotify. So I don't know.
So I guess even furthermore, we put that out in 2016. We recorded Adornment in 2016, the same year. So I guess that's why to me it feels like, as I'm explaining it to you, and I'm trying to figure out the timeline. I'm like, what the hell? But now I'm realizing that it's like, we probably recorded What We're Missing late 2015 or something, had it mixed, put it out in 2016, and then 6 months later, whatever, flew to Los Angeles and recorded Adornment in 2016, then put Adornment out May of 2017 is probably how it went, which we were already on our first, they put us on our first tour with As It Is, who's our very good friends. They're from the UK, and we supported them on the first tour ever that we went out on. But I guess to my point earlier is like, it all happened so quick. It was like, I think of it like, you were on Anchor 84 and put out Change EP, and then you put out What We're Missing, and then you went to Fearless. But really, like, all that shit happened like
within the year, kind of.
Yeah, it was all like, and then somewhere in between What We're Missing and Adornment, we had label management and booking all in the same fucking week. So it was like, it just, when I said it was like a blur, that's literally, it was just like a bunch of blur, like this big blur of like me with my friends playing in basements and, like just fucking around and playing music. And then like we signed to this indie label and then got signed to a bigger indie label who bought us from the smaller indie label. And then now we're here. It just was like so quick and sudden, but
wow. Yeah. Crazy. Well, that first tour you said with the band from the UK, was that in the United States?
It was. Okay. Yep. It was, that must have been like March, April of 2017. Cause it was before Adornment came out, but I think we started like teasing the singles. So we were like teasing singles, and then we started that tour, and the record came out like mid to halfway through the tour while we were in like Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
Adornment. That
was your first tour.
And that was our first tour, our first real tour. And I think you asked us earlier, I didn't really answer it correct. I didn't articulate what I was trying to say, but we had never toured prior to that. We had played weekend runs that we would book ourselves. But in terms of like touring, we play a show in like Boston, Philly, New York, and like one of them would get canceled. The other one, the promoter, wouldn't show up. So it was like, we had never done like touring ever until that As It Is tour in 2017, right after, like during Adornment. Yeah.
And did like Fearless set you up with like all the, like a van? Like how did you guys pull off the tour?
No, we just went and we just bought a fucking used piece of shit van from Ford, the Ford dealership. And we were like, all right, dude, we're going on tour. We need to get a van. So like, we didn't have one at that time. Like I think any shows we had played before that, like local shows, we would just like take our cars, we just went and
to drive separately.
Yep. Just bought a shitty Ford van that it got us through that year. And the thing was such a piece of shit. It's like insane. It's like so cliche. And I almost hate talking about it because it's like the most cliche, like first van of the band, thing. But it was like leaking exhaust, like into the cabin. Like it would exhaust part of the exhaust like system, and like the intake, like the oxygen intake was fucked up, and like there was no air conditioning. Like it had all these intake valve issues that like and there was all these leaks everywhere. Like everything just sucked, and it was like rusting, and like literally you'd be like essentially like you wouldn't notice it, but when you like smell your clothes like the next day, like you would smell like gasoline because like the exhaust like wasn't properly pumping through the engine or whatever. Like it wasn't getting from the front to the back and out the exhaust pipe, and it was like leaking into the cab. So we would have to keep our windows open in like the summer. Oh, I'm sorry, in like the winter. So like even if the AC never worked, it never ever worked. But like, even when it was like freezing as fuck out and we're in like the Pacific Northwest and it's like raining and sleeting and shitty and cold, we'd have to keep the windows down. Like at least cracked with the heat on, because otherwise
die.
Yeah,
right?
dude. Like straight up, we were like, it was looking back at that shit. I'm like, oh my God, dude, we should have just bought it. We should have figured out a way to get another one. But I don't know, man. We're just like Philly kids. Like we just
You wouldn't have the story.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because that's like super dangerous. That's like the people that park their car in their garage and
dude,
you know, like leave the car running.
Yeah, dude, not good.
Oh my goodness.
It's a story.
Totally. It's a story and a good one. So the first single that you guys put out was off that record was Atlantic. Did you guys put that out prior to Adornment coming out? And
yeah, I think it was just I think it was just like the standard. I don't know the date exactly, but I remember just being like like we recorded the record in 2016, got it mixed, and then like maybe call it roughly January 2017 we put out Atlantic as a single, teased that we like, hey, we signed to Fearless, here's our first single, it's called Atlantic, we're releasing our debut, our first ever Fearless release and our first full-length record ever on May 5th 2017. Like it was like all in one shot announcement. That was in like January of 2017, I think.
Okay. And you did that first tour. And
so we it was like January we teased a single, and then I think whatever the next one might have been, like Beautiful Things or If I Ever See You Again, one of those two singles. Probably teased that in like March, and then like late March or probably like, you know, early April, call it, and like half of May. That was probably that tour. It was probably like a month and a half, like 5-week run, something in there, like, you know, second week in April to third week in May, something along those lines. We went on that As It Is tour, and the record came out May 5th, which was like a little behind, like a little past the halfway point of that tour.
Okay. And then the record comes out, the tour ends, and did you just, from, you know, that record to the next album, was that just touring in between there? Or like what'd you guys have going on?
We toured. I mean, that was like, I was like, I have to drop out of school. I only had one semester left, so I finished most of college with the exception of like one semester. But I was like, I have to drop out because it was like that tour with As It Is, came home, and then that fall 4 Years Strong, and then Trophy Eyes after that, and then there was supposed to be like a Seaway tour in January, but that got canceled because they did something like a different tour. But then right after that was, I think, State Champs, and then the Main.
Oh, dope.
And like it literally, it was just like, and Warped Tour was that the year of Warped Tour, or was Warped Tour after? When was that last full Warped Tour run?
The full 2018, I believe. 2018.
Yeah, dude. So we went As It Is, right in, like pretty much right into 4 Year, pretty much right into Trophy Eyes. When we missed Thanksgiving, but we were on that tour, but then we had Christmas with our families. And then we went out with State Champs in March, then the Main in May, and then we did Warped Tour that summer. And then we put out, and then what did we do in the fall? I'm losing my mind. I can't remember. Maybe I'm confusing years, but we just toured. We toured for 2 years straight on Adornment, essentially.
Okay.
Like we just toured like pretty much nonstop.
Well, that's pretty awesome that you guys got to play Warped Tour. I mean, especially the final one. Was that something you would go attend as kids? Oh
yeah, dude, absolutely. I mean, that was definitely like, we were so pumped to do that. You know, it was amazing. We were so excited to do it, and definitely something we had always wanted to do as a band.
And you got to play the whole tour? You got to be on the whole thing?
Yep, got to do the whole thing.
Very cool.
Man. It was very sick.
I heard that's one of the coolest tours to do.
Yeah, dude, it was so sick.
And now like barbecues and all the other stuff after the show, and like, I've just heard some really cool stories about Warped Tour.
Yeah, dude, we made a bunch of friends. It was awesome, man. It was so sick. I can't remember if it was our first year of touring we did Warped, or if it was our second. I can't remember. It must have been the second, because you're saying that Warped Tour was 2018 or 2019.
2018 was the last full Warped Tour, and I think 2019 was like that 25-year thing where they just did like San Francisco and I think the East Coast somewhere.
Yeah. So it was 2018 then was the one that we did. So that timeline I said was correct. So the As It Is into 4 Year, into Trophy Eyes, State Champs, the Main, and then Warped. Pretty sure that would make sense unless I'm mixing something up. But yeah. I think that's how it went. But yeah,
wow. And then after Warped Tour, is that when you started working on the next record?
I think so.
Nella Vita?
We did Nella Vita when did we record? Dude, I'm losing it. I can't. I would need to sit down and like look at all my tour passes. No, you know what? I'm missing a step because we met the Main on Warped Tour, and then they took us out for the first time after that. So we went. Yeah, so I'm missing something. Sorry.
Oh, good.
I'm missing something, dude. I would need to like.
Your story, man.
Yeah. No, sorry, man.
No, it's your story.
Yeah, it's just a blur, bro. We put out Adornment. We did 2 straight years of touring, and then at some point we went to Texas for 5 weeks, and we recorded Nella Vita in this old converted barn, and that's a studio now, and made Nella Vita.
Where was that?
It was outside of Austin. So it was outside of Austin. So like it was called Dripping Springs. It was like 30, 40 minutes west of Austin, just out into like the middle of nowhere, Texas.
Is that I've heard about a studio in Texas. I don't know if it's the same one, but it's kind of like, it's like almost like it's like a secluded little like ranch type thing.
Sonic Ranch, I think is what you're thinking of.
Oh, it's not the same place then.
No, I think it's in San Antonio-ish area. But
okay. I think like Taking Back Sunday recorded something there, and a couple other. I wasn't sure if it was the same spot.
Yeah, no, different spot, but I'm similar-ish vibe. This is our producer Machine. He's responsible. He did like a lot of 4 Year Strong stuff. He did like all of Lamb of God's discography. Like he does a lot of like heavy rock. Wow.
Sure.
Which is cool, but he has all this like sick like hip hop background like from way before all that, so that was kind of what drew us to him. We were like, he's got all this experience with the rock and like the hip hop kind of different kind of genres, and obviously Nella Vita was like, I think for me and for us it was like it was a record taking a step towards what we really want to do, because we just consider Adornment, like to us it's just a rock record. Like we don't, like, you know, we don't give a shit what people call it. Like you can call it pop punk, we don't care, but we never like identify with that world really. We never felt that way. So it's just, you know, to us, Adornment was like this fast, you know, rock record, whatever. And then Nella Vita was okay. We're going to transition more into like pop and the other kind of like, we love Motown. You know, we grew up playing all kinds of different shit. Like I played jazz drums. Nick played jazz drums. Like Andrew loves blues and grew up playing blues guitar. Dallas loves Phil Collins and 80s shit. It's like, it was like, Adornment was the first one we put out because it was just kind of like, it was just like a rock record, like a fast rock record. You know, you can call it pop punk, whatever you want to call it. And then Nella Vita was when we kind of started like, okay, this is kind of the shit we really want to sink our teeth more into. And it was a big transitional record for us. Definitely showed more like where we were going. Just kind of pulling from those other influences. And it wasn't so much that we didn't want to do that for Adornment. I just think it was like we weren't comfortable or thought it was appropriate for like a first release, especially on Fearless Records. Like it just would have been. Did you
feel like you had to be a little bit more, I don't know, careful, I guess, is pulled back?
I mean, the thing is, like, we never, I just think as musicians, like as a unit of musicians, we just weren't ready to pull those influences yet. I think that's really all it was. It wasn't anything like we didn't.
You weren't feeling like reserved or anything?
No, and like, cause honestly, I think the one thing I really like about it, man, is like we don't give a shit what anybody thinks about our music, and we never will. Like we're never gonna write something for someone else ever. Like we don't care. Like it's easy to say that for me because like our fans are so fucking supportive. Like they'll do anything for us and support us, and they're so amazing, and we owe them everything. So I guess to a degree, it's like easy for me to say that. But yeah, I think in a good way, we just want to do our own thing. We don't listen to people's opinions. Like we're just going to, and I think that's the way it should be, dude. It's art. Like if you're listening, you know, if you're writing something for someone else, you're not paying it. You're not doing it for, you know, you have no emotional tie to it. It's like, what's the fucking point? You know?
Sure. Right. So, right. Yeah. You're just giving it to somebody else.
Right.
Okay. So, and that was with Nella Vita. You guys, that was the different. You changed directions or lanes a little bit for that record.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say we changed. I think we just we're like, okay, like we listen to all kinds of music, including the music in the Fearless Records world. We're putting a record out on Fearless Records. Like, you know, we wrote a rock record. To us, it was just rock. We have all kinds of influences. But now Nella Vita is when we're like, okay, like there's a much broader spectrum of us as musicians and individuals than just rock. Like,
Right.
there's so much more than that. Like, not only did we grow up listening to more than that, but playing that, like learning that kind of genre, those genres traditionally. Like, we grew up playing jazz and R&B and like that kind of stuff before we learned rock drums, before we learned rock guitar. So it was like, let's dig into the shit that we like, the soul part of our band that we really like, and we just didn't really apply for Adornment. Like, let's start going there. And we did, and it was super successful. And it was, the record was like overwhelmingly positive. Like, of course, some people don't like when bands change, but to us, it really isn't change. It never was. It was just the next step.
Yeah, evolving.
It was just evolution. That's all it is. And there's no such thing to us, that's like, this is what Grayscale sounds like. Like, then that's something we just have been going down, and we've been more creative and more, it's been more interesting, creative, and fun and awesome and engaging now while we've been home, like doing like, we're always writing music, like quarantine or not. But like, even just going more and more down that way, like it's been awesome. It's been so awesome. So yeah, man, we're just fortunate. We have a super supportive fan base, and we like all kinds of music, and we write all kinds of music. And that's, it seems like it's something that needs like a elaborate answer and elaborate explanation, but it really is that simple. It's just, we make what we want to make, and we like a lot of different shit. It's just the way we've always been.
And you have a new release coming out that has to do with quarantine, and actually some songs from Nella Vita, right? The live from the Barbershop studios.
Yeah, well, that actually just came out. So that came out.
Oh, it is out now. Oh, July 29th. Okay.
Yeah, it's out. It came out last month. But yeah, it was just we actually, honestly, we recorded that before. I think we recorded that, like, that might have been recorded before Nella Vita even came out, dude.
Oh, wow.
Like,
okay.
That wasn't, like that, we didn't do that in quarantine. Like, we put it out in quarantine because the time made sense, but like that content we've been sitting on that for like well over a year.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we'll get into that here in a second.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure. I was gonna say, some people didn't like, thought it was, I can see how plenty of people were like, oh, this must have been during quarantine, but we never like really explained that it wasn't. I don't know. We just never explained it, but yeah.
Yeah. I thought like it was, you guys just like reimagined three of the songs from that record and put them out because it was quarantine. But
right,
we'll get into that in 1 second. What is like what would you say the big milestone is from the Nella Vita record?
In terms of what specifically?
Obviously with the first release, you were signed to Fearless and you got to do the Warped Tour and like these big tours. Like, was there another like next level milestone that happened on Nella Vita, or was it just playing bigger rooms and getting on bigger, better tours, headlining tours?
Yeah. Okay, I got you. So yeah, you're totally right with the Adornment. It was like, okay, we like a lot of music, including like alternative type of music. And then we signed to Fearless. We did Warped Tour. We played Riot Fest or with the Slam Dunk. We toured in the UK, in Europe, and we did all this shit like those first 2 years of touring as a band. Like the 2017, 2018, 2019, like that timeline was like just us touring our asses off in this alternative music world. And then we put out Nella Vita, and that was like creatively more our speed and where we wanted to be, like at least a step towards where we wanted to be and where we wanted to go. And then like we put out the record, and it charted like 21 in Billboard Top 200, and we were like, holy fuck, that's crazy. Like, and then we were like so ecstatic and thankful, but we just like, I don't know. We don't care too much about that kind of shit, but like, it was just cool. It was just like, we didn't expect it.
Yeah. That's probably still pretty validating feeling. I mean, to be able to be like, yo, we made top, even to make that list, be within the top 25. That's crazy.
Right. Yeah. And we were like, oh, this is great. And then time came for part 1, which was fall of last year, right? Yes, fall of last year. So fall of 2019 was our first ever headlining tour. We went to do it, and some of the rooms we booked, we were like, I don't know, with our bookings. We're like, dude, I don't know. Like the TLA, like that venue I talked about, the 1200 cap one that like we opened some local shit on, way back in the day. He was like, I think you should do this. I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, I know we toured our ass off for 2 years. Like, we were busted ass on it, but like, I don't know, dude. Like, this is like, you don't know. It's your first tour. You have no idea. And then fucking it sold out in like a day. That show, the Philly one, like some of the other ones, like, like all of like the bigger rooms that we kind of took shots on, like Boston, Philly, and New York. And I think we did like back-to-back nights in Orlando and whatever, LA. Like, I can't remember the venues, but it just was so overwhelmingly successful, part one, and so mind-blowing to us that it was like we did these 2 years of touring off of Adornment, and then like we put out Nella Vita and do our first tour, and it charts 21 Billboard Top 200, and we sell out like the majority of the tour, and it goes overwhelmingly well, and we're just like, holy shit, like we're so thankful, and it was this mind-blowing craziness. And then we go home, we spend the time with our families or whatever, and we go back out for part two in January, February, and that was 2020. That was January, February of this year.
Yeah.
And most of those rooms sold out. Also overwhelmingly great. Like, we took some shots on rooms like the Observatory in Anaheim is like a pretty decent sized room for.
Oh yeah, that's big.
Like a band like us.
We're in San Diego. I know that room really well. That's
okay, cool. Yeah.
That's like at least 1,200, right?
I don't think it's that. I don't know, dude. I don't think it's that much. I feel like it's
the one here in San Diego is like about 1,200 or maybe like 1,100.
Got you. I think the one there might have been like 800. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But people. Yeah, well, we just didn't know because like LA before, like we didn't know. Like you just don't know, and it's like it's not in proper LA, so we didn't know how it would go. But and then we went into quarantine. So it's like. It's like this band is so young in our minds, like that. Like it is like, yes, we've been playing music in basements and shit with each other, but like all of the things we've wanted to accomplish, we already did in our first 2 years of touring off of Adornment, playing internationally, playing Warped or whatever. And then we were like, okay, it's time to like do our own tour headliner, and it absolutely crushed, and we were fucking blown away and so fucking thankful. It was amazing. And then we went into quarantine, like for part one, which was the A market, and then part two, the B market in the winter. Same result, and we were blown away, and then we went into quarantine. And now it's like all this full steam ahead, and now everybody in the entire music industry are kind of just sitting ducks, and it's like it's just crazy. Like the ride has just been crazy this entire time, and
oh
it's
my
just
gosh.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, where were you guys when the quarantine hit? You were on the road?
Yeah, dude. It was like that tour wrapped up in I think late February. So like, the U.S. like really got hit with quarantine with Corona like in March, mid-March. Yeah.
Whoa. So did you get to complete the tour or no?
We finished it. Came home. We had like 3 days. Okay. Dallas and I rested up. Dallas and I flew to LA. We were doing this we went on this writing trip with one of our friends. Like we were just going to write some songs. Like like I said, we were always doing that kind of shit. Like when we can. Wrote some songs, and the last day we were writing, like the Corona shit was all over the news, and we were like, okay, we have a flight tomorrow. Like, let's get the fuck home and see what happens with this this disease that's going on. And then, lo and behold, it was no joke, and we're however many months later, however many months later, we're still in quarantine. So,
oh my god, yeah, this has been so nuts,
crazy, man.
So okay, so the Live from the Barbershop EP was done way prior to quarantine. Tell me about recording that and how you guys decided to put it out now.
Yeah, well, it was just something that we did. Like we did it really quickly after we did Adornment. Like I forget what time chunk we had, but we went to this studio in Jersey. It's like this sick converted church. Like it's this badass old church they turned into a studio. And we had some friends come out, like, our friend Skyler, who's like an amazing pianist. He did the piano on Tommy's song. He did the piano on the Atlantic, like reworked version of Atlantic that's on that Punk Goes Acoustic album. Like he wrote those piano parts.
Oh,
so we
wow.
We just have friends that like, he's a great pianist. We had a couple dudes that we're friends with come out and play some like brass instruments. And yeah, man, like same like I kind of said earlier, like we just love all kinds of music. So we were like, okay, we'll take Baby Blue, which is like a kind of like a funk rock song, and let's like make it like big bandy, like jazz big band type of sound. And that's what you got with the reworked version of Baby Blue. And then Painkiller Weather, the reworked version is just kind of like, it's kind of like, it get like, just like, I don't know. It's there's like parts of it that like remind me of like 90s kind of hip hop R&B, just with like the way like the kick pattern is, and just like kind of the way the vocals are more like flowy. And then that was just kind of like, we wanted to kind of take it like that direction a little, because it's obviously like a very heavy, just like alternative rock song. So we're like, instead of like a 90s all rock type of sound that this song naturally has, Painkiller Weather, let's do the same thing, but make it like more like 90s, like hip hop sort of. And then What's on Your Mind is like an electric, like a club song. It's like all electric instruments or whatever, like the album version. So we were like, what's the furthest opposite of this that we can go? And we were like, let's make it like a straight up ballad, like finger picking, almost folky sounding acoustic thing. So we did. So yeah, and I think that just comes back to showing like, you know, what this band does, you know, how much we love all kinds of shit and different kinds of instruments and different kinds of music and genre. So yeah, we did that, recorded a while ago, like not long after Nella Vita came out. I'm pretty sure it might have been between those tours, maybe before part one, the A Market one in the fall. I can't quite remember, but
so yeah, Nella Vita was out and then you reworked the songs just a bit later. Or because were the songs already written? Like, because you said you reworked them, but they hadn't been out. Like, they hadn't been out to the public.
They were definitely like, Nella Vita was already done. I just don't know if Nella Vita had come out on like on Spotify and then we recorded these, or if like Nella Vita was out. Then I think it was it was before Nella Vita came out, dude. We recorded Nella Vita and then it was getting mixed, mastered, whatever. And then we went like, you know, however many months later, like 2 months later, while the record was being mixed, and we recorded these 3 more, but reworked them before the record had even dropped. Yeah.
I understand now. I wasn't sure if you had the songs written and just not recorded yet, and you went and did those versions,
right,
and vice versa. And then you just obviously held on to it. You were just waiting for the right time to put it out, and we landed in the right time, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, well, at least, I mean, that's good that you had something, you know, to put out, and you weren't trying to. I know a lot of artists either had something like they're right about to release and then they have to put a full length out and we're already in quarantine, but it sounds like you guys already had kind of something ready to go.
Yeah. No, it's just, I feel like we always try to keep stuff kind of like just in our back pocket. Like we're always working on shit behind the scenes. Like we're always doing shit, whether it's writing, you know, different versions of songs, whatever. Like we're always try to always like keep that stuff, you know, staying creative, you know, keeping that stuff in our back pocket just for when we need it, or if, you know, we might not need it. Like there might not be like a great time to put it out necessarily, but we love just like always, you know, staying busy.
Sure. And what about now during the quarantine? What have you guys been up to? Have you been able to play at all, or have you been doing live streams?
Yeah, well, we did a ton of like Twitch streaming with our fans, and like that was sick as shit. Like we had a lot of fun. We have this like digital like Philadelphia hockey team. It's called the Philadelphia Shamrocks, and it's like all us 5 in Grayscale plus our photographer, creative guy Jordan. So it's like us 6, like absorbing the Philadelphia Flyers franchise. And so it's like all of us playing on this fictional hockey team called the Philadelphia Shamrocks, which is like a Grayscale inspired team. And we play against all the teams, and we Twitch stream it, and like it was so much fun. And then obviously like quarantine got really deep into quarantine, and the world went crazy in a lot of other ways in the past few months. And we were like, all right, it doesn't feel right to keep doing this. Like the world is really hurting right now. Like let's take a break from this. So we took a little bit of a break, but we plan to come back with the Shamrocks hockey and the other streaming things like very soon again. Other than that, man, just staying busy. We're always being creative. We're always writing, always working on our craft, always doing our thing. Just kind of another, just going to work every day.
Yeah, totally. With the Phillies, with the Shamrock games, so it's just you guys as the full team on what, like NHL 20 or something like that?
Yeah, so it's like an NHL 20 franchise, and you can like create a team.
Right.
And we essentially just like made this team like custom uniforms, like all based off of like our like our vibe and our like branding. It's like like green and gold and blue, and it's like it's got like, you know, like we use a bear a lot on our merch, so it's got like this bear on the front.
Sure.
And like the G on the helmet for Grayscale, and we like imported, it's like the Flyers roster plus the 6 members of Grayscale all mixed up in different lines playing together against the rest of the NHL. Yeah, it's pretty sick, man. It's fun.
And then are you playing on streams against somebody else, or are you just playing the computer and streaming
No,
it?
so we're just playing the computer, but like all of our fans are like watching, like a lot of them. Like there's a few hundred people like watching and like fired up on, you know, like cheering for us like they're at a fucking show, but it's like us playing video games against the computer, but it's like so fun and like lighthearted and sick.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy, but definitely fun as hell.
Right on, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this, dude. I really appreciate it.
For sure, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I have one more question for you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
I would just say like don't listen to like it's always so important for me, like don't listen to people. And what I mean by that is like, you know, if there's somebody's judgment you really, really trust, or you have a mentor or something, or a friend that's like been there and done that, like, you know, do that. But like don't listen to what people think, what they have to say. Who gives a shit? Like if you want to do something and be creative, like you have to find the right person or people, or, you know, whatever it is that makes you feel creative to do what you do. And you know, you may not be good at it right away. That's fine. Like that's life. Everything in life is a journey. It takes a long time. You know, I think my advice would be work hard. Like the struggle is part of the journey, as with anything in life. Apply yourself, work really hard. Don't be afraid, and don't listen to what anybody has to say. The best advice I could give anybody trying to do anything specifically with music is don't listen to anyone.